and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, welcome everybody. It is Pushing the Limits on what is an incredibly busy Monday for a lot of different reasons. Thank you for joining us on the FMAM dial, KSHP, of course, the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and everywhere else. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of other things going on, like the Republican National Convention and Donald Trump, who is picking his vice presidential running mate, who we know is J.D. Vance. I'll get to that in a moment. By the way, I've been saying that for months. But I was driving over the weekend to an NBA Summer League game and meeting a couple friends when all of a sudden my phone started to blow up. And on my phone, I got messages from dozens of people telling me that the president's been shot. And the first time I looked at the video, I thought it was a hoax. I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't think it was real. Something seemed strange to me. Wait, somebody's trying to kill the president and something pierced his ear? Something just didn't seem right to me. And then I saw the video a couple more times, realizing, oh my gosh, this is real. And then news came out that one person had lost their life and a couple other people were shot. And it reminded me a little bit of the October 1 shooting and the chaos, and nobody really knows what's going on. And then we saw videos come out of the shooter on top of the roof. I'm going to break all this down for you and give you my opinions. One thing we cannot do as a country, and I agree with the sentiment of Joe Biden, what he said yesterday, we can never condone violence. We can never, in the United States of America, ever incite or condone any bit of violence towards anyone, no matter how much we might disagree with someone politically, no matter how much we might dislike somebody. Never should this despicable behavior ever be condoned. But what is interesting to me, and the questions that we did ask, is how this could have happened. How somebody can get up on a roof with a gun and even attempt to do something horrible like this is beyond me. What we do know is that moments, maybe minutes, we don't know the answer to that yet, but we do know that the Secret Service, some snipers, and even local law enforcement did know before the shooting that there was somebody on top of the roof, and the bystanders that were at the rally, that were just there to hear Donald Trump speak, were warning people and telling law enforcement, look, there's a guy on top of the roof. I have audio to play for you to prove exactly that. That's exactly what took place. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. It's scary. And it's crazy that we are living in a time where this could even happen. It's almost like we're living in a dream. We're living in a movie. But no, this is real life. There was an attempted assassination attempt, luckily not followed through, because that would have been an awful day for the country. It's still a very sad day for the country when we lose an innocent person and a couple other innocent bystanders are shot. It's a very sad day for the country. But yeah, it's incredible to me how this could have even happened. Listen to bystanders before the shooting, moments before, saying, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. And you know, stay over here. So the first 3 shots is the attempted assassination. The next 4 to 5 shots is sniper Secret Service taking him out. How he even got those several shots off is beyond me. They knew. Bystanders knew. And here we have an eyewitness who said he saw the shooter climbing up onto the roof. This is mesmerizing to me. Have a listen to this.
We noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police are like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came?
Classic monumental failure by the Secret Service. When you have innocent bystanders like that man, who, by the way, was doing the right thing and attempting to tell law enforcement. And we are also learning that at least one local law enforcement officer also climbed the roof before the shooting, and the shooter pointed a gun at the officer, and then he went back down. Why didn't he immediately take this guy out is beyond me. And I know we all can Monday morning quarterback and say, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do this? Why do you have the Secret Service there to begin with when they know that there's somebody on the roof with a gun? It's really, like I said, it's a colossal failure. Colossal failure. Now, there are a lot of people that are saying the right things. There are some people, a small percentage of people, that are saying the wrong things. Yes, the temperature needs to be lowered. Where does that start with? I feel horrible for the victim who lost his life, his family, and his friends. Now, I will tell you that Corey Comparator, who was a firefighter in the last moments of his life, did act in a heroic fashion in jumping on top of his family, and it probably saved their lives. In the last moments of his life, he was a hero. But I do, in some aspects, compare him to others that have been brainwashed. I went on his social media, and the man did not deserve to die. I feel for his family. It's a horrible circumstance. But this is a guy on his social media, which is still public, who praised Vladimir Putin, who made openly racist comments about the press secretary, who celebrated the genocide of kids in Gaza. And it's very sad. And here's a man who dedicated his life being a firefighter, right? Who probably saved the life of his family. It's a horrible circumstance. But like Ashley Babbitt, was brainwashed and brought into the cult. And it's really sad. When I went on his social media, I didn't expect to see what I saw. It was really mesmerizing to me. Very sad what happened to this man. He did not deserve to die, and it's horrible. Last I've checked, Donald Trump hasn't reached out to the families. I hope eventually he does. And he said in a statement that he, at least in an interview he did yesterday, we're told by the person who did the interview, that he wants to bring the country together. Not buying it. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be the first person to go on the air in a month or two from now, because that's really what we're talking about. He can be nice for the next week. He could attempt to bring the country together. Is Donald Trump just going to change like that? I'm not buying it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I have egg on my face. And in 6 months from now, or a year from now, heck, even 5 months from now, if this is a changed man and he's about bringing the country together and not division, I'll be the first person to go on the air and say, wow, I'm impressed that he has changed, and I was 100% wrong. I'm not buying it. Why am I not buying it? Well, at the CPAC convention, Trump was asked about the kidnapping of Governor Whitmer. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that 2 ringleaders were found guilty on conspiracy charges connecting to this plot. Listen to what Donald Trump said about this just days later.
As another example, the sting that they did involving Gretchen Whitmer was fake, just like those who instigated January 6th. It was a fake deal, fake. It was a fake deal. Gretchen Whitmer was in less danger than the people sitting in this room right now, it seems to me. and you look to see what happened, and trials are going on all over the place. And I guess a lot of people, Tudor, are being exonerated, aren't they? Huh? They're being exonerated.
So what would you say? What would you say if somebody went on the radio today or the television and said this whole assassination attempt was a fake deal? Now, obviously, I would never say that because it wasn't. This was a really dangerous situation, an attempted assassination on the former president. It wasn't a fake deal. That's exactly what Donald Trump did when it came to Governor Whitmer. Did he ever retract? Did he ever apologize? There were convictions in this case. They were going to kidnap and kill the governor, and Donald Trump said it was a fake deal. How did Donald Trump respond after Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was almost killed and murdered, bludgeoned with a hammer? Just a few days after this horrific attack, by the way, that person's already been convicted. Just a few days after this horrific attack, where Paul Pelosi was almost killed, listen to how he made jokes about the attack.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
Listen to all those idiots in the crowd that are laughing, just despicable deplorables. So yes, Donald Trump was a victim over the weekend. Yes, this wasn't a fake deal. This was a deranged individual who I would assume was trying to take out the former president of the United States. Listen to the statements that Donald Trump has made about others. Could be Paul Pelosi, could be Governor Whitmer, or people that were injured on January 6th, the 140 officers. He calls some of those people who injured some of those officers patriots and hostages. So my focus, at least today, after digesting all this information, is how this could have happened, why wasn't it prevented, and talk about the monumental failures of the Secret Service. I was driving into work today, and these idiots that are doing these right-wing propaganda shows blaming Democrats for this. Let me explain this to you. I put out a video on Twitter, X, as soon as I got information that was confirmed that the shooter is a registered Republican, or was a registered Republican. Because all the conspiracy theories on the right keep hurling in, just like with Paul Pelosi, it was a gay relationship. He let the guy in his house, right? Or Governor Whitmer, when the former president said it was fake. It was a fake deal. Her life wasn't in danger. We heard the same things about the shooter. Antifa, Democrat, even some elected officials saying that it was correlated and commanded through the president of the United States, Joe Biden, which is despicable. We know he was a registered Republican. And if you want to come up with excuses, oh, well, he donated $15 to the Democrat Party. Registered Republican, white male. This wasn't a transgender. This wasn't a minority. This wasn't George Soros. This wasn't somebody that was paid through the Democrat Party. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden. It had nothing to do with Democrats. It had everything to do with one deranged individual who happened to be a registered Republican who, for whatever reason, wanted to get on a roof, and I would assume attempted to kill the former president of the United States. And I put that up on social media. I think it's got almost 4 million views now on Twitter. It went viral. And all I did was speak the truth. I didn't put this video up on Twitter, to get clicks. I put it up because I thought it was important to put out the facts and stop with the conspiracy theories, because that's exactly what these are. Conspiracy theories. But I'll tell you what we can't have in this country. Now, I'm not buying that Donald Trump is a changed man. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I have egg on my face. For a week or two, I think he's going to tone down the rhetoric. I do believe that. I believe for a week or two he has to. I don't think Donald Trump's a changed man. In a month from now, in 6 months from now, he's going to be the same guy. I believe. I hope I'm wrong. He's going to be the same guy. He's going to be attacking anybody and everybody that disagrees with him. He's going to have nicknames for everybody. That's what I think is going to happen. Go ahead, Mr. Trump. Prove me wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it on the air. I'm not buying it for a second. and to try to make him or paint him out to be some sort of hero. No, I will say Corey Comparator, even though I vehemently disagree with the despicable statements that this man made on social media. He didn't deserve to die. And in the last moments of his life, he absolutely was a hero. And thank God for that. I'm thinking about the other two people right now that are injured. They were in serious condition. Thank God now they're in stable condition. I'm thinking about all the people at the rally, the kids who had to witness this. I'm thinking about all those people who had to see this firsthand. That is extremely traumatic. Should be focused on Secret Service, making, going over the mistakes and making sure that this never happens again. It is a colossal failure on that avenue. And if Donald Trump, I don't believe one word out of his mouth, but if he says he's going to try to bring the country together, yeah, we'll see about that. Prove me wrong. We'll see about that. But I will tell you what we can't have in this country, because the far right does it all the time. And yes, I know you can find some clips of people comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. That's wrong. I disagree with that as well. But we can't have people condoning violence. We can't have people being insensitive to what took place. And I'm just going to give you one example. I could give you many examples. I'm going to give you one example. The band Tenacious D. So Kyle Gass is the co-singer, I guess you could say, in the band of Tenacious D. And I guess it was his birthday. And have a listen to this audio.
Trump next time.
Ridiculous. Inexcusable. And can incite violence. Even if you actually believe that sort of stuff, you better not say that stuff publicly. It's inappropriate. It can incite more violence. And I am worried about that. Very inappropriate. And Kyle Gass should apologize. Even if he actually does believe that, I'm not even sure if he does. If he was just making a joke, it's in very, very poor taste. That stuff's got to stop. Absolutely has to stop. We can't be a nation, as they say, one nation under God. We can't come together in any way, shape, or form. We could have criticisms of political leaders and personal problems with people that are elected officials. You cannot make statements like that. And that's just one example of other examples I can give you. It's wrong. That's got to stop. That's not going to get anybody anywhere. In fact, it could only incite violence and make things worse for people in this country. That type of language has to stop. But I do find it interesting, and I told you this at the start of the show, and now it is completely official. And I've been saying this for months. For months, I've been saying that Donald Trump was going to pick J.D. Vance. Now, I find this to be very, very interesting. If you want to talk about comparing Donald Trump to Hitler, which, by the way, I've never done before, I've said he's used some language similar to Adolf Hitler. This is a guy who once compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. That's right. Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, said he was a never Trump guy. He said he couldn't stomach Donald Trump. He called him a terrible candidate. He called him America's Hitler. He called him a cynical a-hole. He called him obnoxious, reprehensible. Now, I still believe behind closed doors, J.D. Vance absolutely still believes that about Donald Trump. This was a moment where he was challenged on that from none other than Brett Baer on Fox News. Have a listen to this.
This is an evolution, and I know you've been asked about this before, about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible. Those are things that...
So here's the thing, right? And this is what I'll say to that. I do believe that's the real J.D. Vance. Just like many others that have supported Donald Trump, that have said similar things about him. This is where the Republican Party is at. J.D. Vance knows that he's going to be asked about this over and over and over again. He already has. And he'll say, well, I think Donald Trump's a different guy now. No, that's a lie. J.D. Vance absolutely knows who Donald Trump is. Nikki Haley absolutely knows who Donald Trump is. Many in the Republican Party that are elected officials, like the Ted Cruzes of the world, they all know who Donald Trump is. Marco Rubio, another one. But yet they still support him because they've sold their soul. J.D. Vance, again, once compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Now, I would assume that J.D. Vance probably still feels that way about Donald Trump, but he won't say it publicly. And in fact, he knows he runs as Donald Trump's vice president. It's good for his career for him to remain in power. Now, I'm going to take a break, and when I do come back, I'm going to take some phone calls on this. I don't think this helps Donald Trump. I think what took place over the weekend could propel Donald Trump as being some sort of hero or martyr. Obviously, I don't feel that way. I don't think it hurts Donald Trump politically. I don't think J.D. Vance helps Donald Trump at all. He's certainly not bringing in moderate Republicans. He's not bringing in independents. I think Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, he would have been better off with a Nikki Haley, quite frankly. You're not bringing in the Nikki Haley crowd. I don't think this helps Donald Trump at all. J.D. Vance is, again, a boring, monotone, extreme far right. And I use the term MAGA supporter because I know that J.D. Vance is two-faced. You could just go back and listen to some of the things that J.D. Vance has said about Donald Trump. But we've covered a lot here in the first segment. So what I will do is I will take some phone calls now at 702-221-7283. And again, the number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Your thoughts on all the events that took place over the weekend. Am I wrong in saying that this was a monumental failure by the Secret Service? I have a lot of questions that have still been unanswered. Am I wrong in calling out the far right for the conspiracy theories? This had nothing to do with Democrats. It has nothing to do with the left. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden. And it was even J.D. Vance who insinuated that Joe Biden was somehow responsible for this attempted assassination. What a despicable thing to say. What a despicable thing to say, to blame Joe Biden. I'm not saying that incitement of violence has never happened on the left, but are you kidding me? In the last 5, 6, 7 years, who's incited violence more? It is absurd. We want to come together as a country, but J.D. Vance wants to blame Joe Biden for the attempted assassination attempt of Donald Trump. He's an idiot. It's absurd. So I will take some phone calls when we come back. The great Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us in hour number 2. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com. And get started.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Probably, maybe, arguably the busiest news Monday, the busiest news day of the last several years, maybe since January 6th. I don't know. Breaking news that, as I mentioned to you guys, and I've talked about this for months, I've said Donald Trump is going to pick J.D. Vance. Why? Because he doesn't overshadow Donald Trump. And that's exactly what he did. I don't think it helps Donald Trump at all. And if I'm the Democratic Party, I put it in a loop, all the things that J.D. Vance has said about Donald Trump in the past. He compared him to Adolf Hitler. He called him a cynical a-hole, reprehensible, obnoxious. He's called him a terrible candidate. He said he couldn't stomach Donald Trump, and he said he was a never-Trumper. I would play that in a loop over and over and over again at the Democrat National Convention before every speaker. Play it at the end of a speech. Play it. I would make commercials about it. What a joke. Donald Trump picks the guy who compared him to Adolf Hitler. I think it's a monumental mistake. I really do. I don't know what you guys think about that. I want to tell you guys about my good friends, by the way, at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones every Tuesday. Show your TAM card. You get $50 in free slot play. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great family atmosphere, great bartenders, great food. Check them out and tell them that I sent you. Jackson's Bar and Grill, the official gaming bar of PTL. So I promised you guys I would go right to the calls. We've got Ron Filipowski, who I love. I love his commentary from Midas Touch. He's going to be joining us in hour number 2. We'll get his reaction on Donald Trump picking J.D. Vance. I told you guys, some of you might listen to Fox News or OAN or CNN or MSNBC. I told you he was going to pick J.D. Vance. I've been saying that for 6 months, and it came to fruition, and I was right once again. Sorry, I got to pat myself on the back for that one. All right, let's take some calls. Let's go. The phone lines are clogged right now. Just keep trying, and we'll try to get you. Let's go to Nelson. Nelson is first up on PTL. Hi, Nelson. Where are you calling from?
Calling from Fall River, East Coast.
Gotcha, my man. What's on your mind today?
You know, I want to say something real quick because, you know, the Republicans, they're so hypocritical, so hypocritical. They're saying, oh, we should just come, let's all come together, let's all go to heaven. There's no place for violence. But what about saying, let's hang Mike Pence?
Yes.
What about Paul Pelosi? What about January 6th?
Correct.
What about all the stuff that we know? Where's the apology for that?
Agree.
No apology.
100%. I'm with you 100% on that. And that is why when Donald Trump says allegedly in an interview over the weekend that he wants to bring people together, I laugh at it. Now, he might be a good boy for a week, right? I read Melania Trump's statement. It's an absolute joke. It's an embarrassment, and she's an embarrassment. Yeah, you know what? Listen, there's nothing more I would rather do than to say I'm wrong. And in 6 months from now, God forbid, if Donald Trump becomes the president in November, in 6 months from now, he's a changed man. I'll be the first person to come on the radio. But you know what he should have done, Nelson? You tell me whether you disagree with this or not, and he won't do this. Joe Biden obviously says all the right things. He picked up the phone. He called Donald Trump. Why wouldn't Donald Trump want to hold a joint press conference with Joe Biden? Take responsibility for what he's done and lower the temperature with Joe Biden. You know Joe Biden would do that. You don't even have to take question. Just say, I take responsibility for some of the things I've said in the past. I think we all should. I'm a changed man, Mr. President. I know you're my opponent, but no name calling. Donald Trump could do that. He's not going to. And what a great thing that would be for the country.
Listen, I will believe that, what you just said. I believe that when we all see Jimmy Hoffa reemerge back into society.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
I'm with you.
And I want to clarify something, too, because I heard this somewhere, and they're trying to link this to this attempted assassination. When President Biden said, it's time to put Donald Trump back into the bullseye, it wasn't about putting a sniper.
Of course it wasn't.
It was about putting what he stands for and the policies he wants to put forth back into focus, because we're getting close to the election.
Absolutely.
Not this thing trying to kill this guy. Thank God he missed.
Yeah.
But let's call a spade a spade. That was a registered Republican trying to take out their own presumptive Republican nominee. And as an independent voter, this is what I'm thinking about the race, about this guy, President Mr. Trump.
Yes.
Is that if one of your own can come out and try to kill you, that means electing you potentially, nothing set in stone. We don't know if he's going to win, but if he wins, that means our enemies are going to be emboldened.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you.
Because they don't like him.
I agree.
And it could put this national security at risk.
I'm surprised.
This is serious stuff. We have servicemen.
Yeah. I think we lost you there, Nelson.
Iran?
But I appreciate your call. I think you're on a bad phone, Nelson. It's good to hear from you. Looking back on it, I'm not surprised that this happened. I wish it didn't happen, but I'm not surprised. I was worried for Barack Obama's safety. There were so many bad people out there that are racist that couldn't stand the fact that we had the first black president. I'm glad it didn't happen. This is a sad day for the country. It could have been much, much worse. My thoughts and prayers go out to all the families that were affected by one person dying and 2 others shot, and I wish them the best. I really do. It's a terrible situation, but don't you give me this garbage that, Joe Biden's responsible. J.D. Vance said that. He's running for vice president. He's blaming Joe Biden for this attempted assassination attempt. You buffoon, you right-wing clown, you two-faced ass clown. That's what you are, J.D. Vance. You compared the man who you're running for vice president with to Hitler, and now you're running with him to be the next vice president of the United States. You two-faced clown, you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the show. Why don't we go to Shay? I believe Shay is next on PTL. Hi, Shay. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I want to talk about 2 things, the election and then the Secret Service. About the Secret Service, a lot of people have been giving a harsh criticism of them. But the Secret Service, their job is already stressful enough. And the thing is that they can't control what comes out of that orange fool's mouth. And did you see when he did that fist pump?
I did. Yep.
When he was getting off the podium and then when he was getting into the motorcade.
Yep.
He could care less about Secret Service, Brian.
Of course.
He could care less about them because
I think he could also care less about the people that were shot. I mean, I understand that there was a GoFundMe page for the victim, the man who lost his life, but Donald Trump didn't do that. There were people around him that asked him if it would be okay if they did it. It wasn't Donald Trump's idea. He didn't visit with the family. He didn't go to the hospital and visit with the 2 people that were at one point this weekend fighting for their lives. No, he went to Bedminster and now he flies off to the RNC. It's all about him.
I think Secret Service, there should be some type of reform when it comes to the Secret Service. I think they need to have some power over these people that they are putting their lives on the line to protect these elected officials. But I'm going to say this about the election. He's not winning the election. He's not going to do it. You cannot win with just 20. And for the people that say, where is this expansion? He only has 25, 30% of the election.
Listen, I understand what you're. I understand what you're saying, Shay. But a lot of people felt the same thing when he was running in 2016. I just think I understand that that's your opinion. I respect your opinion. I think this is much closer than you think. And I got
to be a close race.
I'm not.
The only reason why.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why this is a close race, and I think you'll agree on this is the Republican Electoral College, and it's a shame that it only comes down to 5 or 6 states every single year.
You are 100% right.
No, these Republicans know if this thing came down to a popular vote, even after this assassination attempt, he would have no shot.
You're right. If not for the Electoral College, Republicans would almost never win the presidential election. I'll tell you this, Joe Biden's going to win the popular vote. There's no question about that. But
put it on this, Brian. He's going to win it. I think he's going to win it by at least 5 to 7 million votes. He's going to win it.
Well,
by.
I hope you're right. If he wins by 5 to 7, if he wins by 5 to 7 million votes, he's going to win the election. I'm not as confident as you are. I hope you're right. And thank you for the call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hi, Paul. What's going on?
Oh man, I feel like I went off this ride. Am I alone?
Yeah. It's crazy times we're living in, my friend. Crazy times.
A couple quick points. I'm kind of with you. I'm very middle of the road. I was shocked by how many people on the left, and I'm not saying it was people in Congress or Senate, but on like social media, they were like, "Oh, if only they were better shot." That is absolutely disgusting.
Horrible.
It's not funny and it's
Horrible.
not cute.
No, horrible.
It's
horrible.
It's deplorable. And it's just as deplorable on the right that all these guys are yelling and screaming about, "Hey, we want a civil war. We're tough guys. We have small penises.
All right,
we're going to shoot her."
Let me ask you a question, though.
Too.
Let me ask you a question, though, and you can tell me if I don't think it's funny at all what took place. Obviously, my heart goes out to the
Absolutely
families.
Not.
With that being said, maybe you can tell me whether I made a mistake or not. Because this is a very, we're in very serious times, high stress, emotional times. And I did make a joke, and you can tell me if it's inappropriate. Nothing to do with, obviously anybody that was hurt or injured. But I did say Donald Trump has never cared more about 2 inches since he was with Stormy Daniels. I did make a joke. Do you think that's inappropriate?
I do. I think that was the wrong time to say that.
Maybe, well, I said it yesterday. I waited a little bit to say it.
Yeah.
And maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong in doing so, and I could own that.
Because it amplifies to the already toxic culture. Not to saying that you didn't mean it wrong, but I just think the way that people take things right now is they go to violence.
Sure.
The other thing, I'm a person of faith myself. What I am just shocked by are all of these white evangelicals that are like, "Oh, there's this," and I've seen pastors on Sunday mornings doing this crap, Ryan, and it makes me sick. They're like, "Oh, this was divine by God." Oh, well, what about the person behind Trump? Where was his protection from him? Where was God's protection from Uvalde and Parkland and George Floyd?
Let me comment on that.
Somehow annoyed at it, you know what I mean?
Let me comment on that, because you're absolutely right, and that really gets me angry when people say that God saved Donald Trump or they want to turn to religion. I get so pissed off at that. What about the man who lost his life? He has 2 daughters that watched him die. What about the 2 other people who were shot? What about all the bad things that happen to good people every day in this country? Don't you give me this right-wing evangelical religious zealot nonsense, these Bible thumpers. God saved Donald Trump. Just shut up. Okay, just shut up. I'll tell you what happened. Donald Trump is very lucky. I'm glad that a bullet didn't go through his head. I'm glad that the lunatic who decided to do this on that day was taken out. I'm glad that more people weren't injured. It reminded me a lot of the October 1 shooting, just in this aspect, in that it was someone who didn't care about loss of life. I am grateful that more people were not hurt or killed. It could have been even much worse. And again, my heart, even though I think the man who lost his life had some very crazy views, he didn't deserve to die. There's nothing worse than a family member having to see that firsthand. They're going to be, they're going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? For the rest of their life, they're going to be thinking about that, rightfully so. It's horrible. And again, I look at Donald Trump's actions speak louder than words. He says he's going to bring the country together. Has he reached out to the families? Did he go to the hospital?
No.
I can guarantee
No, he didn't.
I can guarantee you, if that happened, God forbid, I don't want it to happen. But if the tide was turned and God forbid something happened where they tried to assassinate our current president, I could guarantee you that Joe Biden would be there in the hospital with those victims. And Donald Trump flies out of town. He dodges town. He cares about the RNC, only cares about becoming the next president of the United States. Donald Trump is not a changed man. You might see him toned down for the next week. You might see him toned down for the next 2 weeks. But in a month or two from now, he's not changing. He's going to be the same despicable person.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, because I know you have a lot of callers, is when I hear people on the right, and listen, I'm very middle of the road, when they're like, you hate Donald Trump, it's like, you know what? I don't know if I physically hate him, but he's taken away women's rights. Mm-hmm. He's raped a woman. He sexually assaulted someone on the Epstein files. He's a convicted felon.
Yes.
He's been convicted of tax fraud. So yeah, the fact that there are people in this country that have overlooked all of that just because the price of eggs are high.
Yep.
I have a moral problem. That's not a difference of opinion. It's a difference in values, and they don't seem to understand that.
Yep. Amen.
Okay.
Amen, Paul. I agree with you 110%. Besides the breaking news of Donald Trump picking J.D. Vance, which I told you was going to happen, we have some other breaking news, and I think this is good news. It's good for the Biden administration. It's good for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Joe Biden has just awarded Secret Service to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. When I had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on this show, I took his side, and I said Joe Biden was wrong on this. I'm glad that Joe Biden did the right thing. I don't know why it took this long, but if there's anybody that deserves Secret Service after what happened to his father, after what happened to his uncle, it's absolutely Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We're going to try to get him on the show today to talk about that. Kudos to Joe Biden for doing the right thing. Yes, I wish it happened sooner, but better late than ever. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Armando. Armando is next up on PTL. What's up, Armando?
Yeah, Brian. Hello. Let's see. I've been watching a lot of the podcasts on YouTube, so I've developed a conspiracy theory that he did not act alone, the shooter. And the reason is because it revolves around the ladder used to climb up to the roof. Now, see, it's a two-story. Usually a two-story.
But hold up. Did we hang up on Armando by accident? I think we just hung up on Armando by accident. Armando, I apologize. That was accidental. Please call back. I was going to interject. You're welcome to call back, Armando. My apologies. We hung up on you by accident. I do not believe there was more than one person that was involved in this. There is no evidence to. I'm not saying that the FBI is going to be always telling you the truth, but I can tell you that I'm not buying that. I do think this was one lunatic that acted alone and one person only. And listen, let's let the investigation play itself out. I've had to deal with conspiracy theories about the October 1 shooting from right-wing idiots out there that have said that there was more than one shooter. I just disagree. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Tom. Tom is next up on PTL. What's going on, Tom?
Hi, Brian. Tom from Syracuse.
What's up, my man?
Yeah, it's been an awful time here, but couple things. Facts, the attempt on his life was real, as you mentioned, and despite the outpouring of well wishes, and I don't know if you've heard it, but all over media, pundits falling over themselves to report the horror of it all. Mm-hmm. He is still a convicted felon, sexual predator, a fraud, a wannabe dictator, and someone who tried to overthrow our government. And to add even more, he's the ultimate definition of a sociopath who shows not an ounce of empathy to others. So let's just say what he said about a school shooting a day after
get over it.
died.
He said get over it.
We have to get over it. So condemn the shooting, and let's get back to condemning the lunatic who has been stirring the hate and violence pot for years.
No doubt.
Let's make sure he never comes close to the White House again.
Very well said. I was criticized for saying that I don't think Donald Trump is a changed man. I was criticized for not calling Donald Trump some sort of hero or martyr. Let's be very clear on this. You're right. He did say, get over it. We need to get over it. And kids being killed. At CPAC, making a speech after Governor Whitmer was, again, a victim, and thank God they weren't, ringleaders were trying to kidnap her and attempting to kill her. He called it a fake deal. They were, again, convicted in a court of law, and he called it a fake deal. In regards to Paul Pelosi, almost murdered, bludgeoned with a hammer, he made jokes about it. So I am not going to sit here on the air today and thoughts and prayers for Donald Trump. I'm glad that he's okay. It's a bad day for the country. I'm glad the shooter was taken out. I feel horrible for the innocent people that were injured or the loss of life. It's horrible, and my thoughts go out to them. But I am not going to sit here and say that Donald Trump is a changed man now. I am not going to sit here and say he's a brilliant man. He just picked his VP, a guy who compared him to Adolf Hitler. This is a man who has had no moral compass and has never cared about anybody but himself. And that's not because I have Trump derangement syndrome. For all of you people out there that think Donald Trump is a changed man, you have Trump derangement syndrome. I'm just a man that is full of the reality of the situation. Donald Trump is not a changed man. If he lowers the tone for the next week or two, that wouldn't surprise me. But in a couple months from now, he's going to be the same guy. And Tom, I appreciate your phone call. Thank you, Tom. Sorry, I got to get to some other callers, my man. Appreciate your call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Good afternoon, Brian from Pennsylvania.
How far are you? How far are you from where the shooting took place?
About 200 miles.
Gotcha. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm on a different level, Brian. Okay. I served 8 years in the military, and I did 3.5 years in Afghanistan. Do I condone violence? No. Do I think Trump brought this on himself? 100% he brought the shooting on himself from all his hateful rhetoric for the last 8 years.
Okay, so let me respond to that. I don't think Donald Trump's behavior and the things he has said helped him in this situation. Do I know for sure if his rhetoric played a role in this? I'm not willing to say that because I don't know. What I will say is that this is a man who has shown a lack of empathy for many others who have been victims of crimes, a lot of others, like the Paul Pelosi's and the Governor Whitmers. So I'm not focusing on Donald Trump here. He's no hero to me. I choose to focus on the Secret Service failures and the people who were harmed, others that were injured, shot, and one man that was killed. I do feel for his family.
Well, like I said, Brian, I'm on a different level. Mm-hmm. Do I care that Trump was shot? No. Do I want to see more violence? No, because I have no sympathy for the man. Mm-hmm. He called me personally a sucker and a loser. He kicked me in the belly with that when he said that. Okay?
I understand. Hey, listen, I understand.
How many...
I understand. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
How many people did he kill with COVID? Any man that would have done this if they were not president by the January 6th trying to overturn an election, trying to overrun the government,
Mark,
he would have been either court-martialed or put in prison for the rest of his life.
Mark, I don't disagree with, for the most part, anything you are saying. All I'm simply saying is, we can't incite violence. We can't stoop to his level. We can't sit here and make statements like, oh, boy, the guy had bad aim, or boy, I wish he had better aim. Those are very dangerous statements to make. And I'm not saying you're saying those statements. We have to be very careful. We are living in emotional times. We're very divided as a country. I'm just not focusing on thoughts and prayers for Donald Trump or Melania Trump and her ridiculous, embarrassing statement that she made. I do agree that his rhetoric and his hateful statements have not helped him. But we need to learn more about this deranged individual who attempted to carry this out and did kill one person and shoot several others. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Brent. Brent is next up on PTL. What's going on, Brent?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
A tiger never changes its stripes. You keep saying he's not a changed man. Of course he's not. He is not going to change. He's 78 years old.
Right. I agree.
I mean, he is who he is, and it's not going to be any different anytime, ever.
Yeah.
That's my feeling about it.
Well, I agree. I think that the tail will not be in the next week or two. The key test will be in, maybe in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months.
Well, he'll ride this event out, and and then he'll be back to the same stuff that he's always been up to.
Unfortunately, I agree with you, but here's where people, might disagree with me. But there's nothing more than I would love to do than to be able to go on the air in 6 months from now or in 3 months from now and say, boy, I was wrong. I'm really impressed. The guy does seem like a changed man. But if you really wanted to do something, and I said this right after the shooting.
I really believe hell would have to freeze over.
Well, I understand why you would say that. I'm with you. But, people on CNN yesterday were like, boy, well, here's what Trump needs to do. He needs to. I said right after the shooting, what a tremendous opportunity Donald Trump has. First of all, he's a lucky man to be alive, right?
Yes,
Number
for
one.
sure.
But what
I don't like the man at all. But, I mean, I don't condone any of that, just like you have said,
Of course. But what an opportunity he has to bring the country together. Now, all he has to do, hold a joint.
I don't think he's capable, to be honest.
I agree with you. I don't think he's capable either. But what I would
it's not within him.
I agree with you. But, if I was, or I was in a position to tell Trump what to do, he won't listen to anybody. It would be call up Joe Biden the way Joe Biden called you, because Joe Biden's a decent man. And say, hey, Joe, I'd like to come to the White House. I'd like to meet with you privately. And then I'd like to hold a public press conference, and let's try to lower the temperature. That
was very presidential of Joe Biden.
Yes,
to do
and
that.
I agree. Yeah. And if Donald Trump did that, everybody would be on his side. Even though we might not like him, we don't want him to be president again, we would all be on his side and say, hey, you know what? Donald Trump did the right thing. If this wasn't about politics, it was about lowering the temperature. That's all Donald Trump has to do. He won't do it. He won't do it.
No.
Yeah, and that's the sad state of affairs we're in. Listen, I'd love to be on the air here 4 months, 6 months from now and say that I'm wrong and Donald Trump is a changed man. I don't think he's capable.
We'll see, but I think we have a prediction made. So
yeah, well, we'll see as well. Brent, it's good to hear from you, my friend, and I do appreciate the call, sir. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Richard? Richard is next up on PTL. What's up, Richard?
Yes, I just want to say a few things about Trump. His whole life, this person is bully.
Mm-hmm.
His whole life, this person is liar.
Mm-hmm.
His whole life, this person is dehumanized person.
Mm-hmm.
That's his whole life, not just because he became president.
Yes.
And on top of everything, if you know what is biological brain disorder, that's what he had. So nobody is going to change him. His own parents tried to change him when he was kids.
Yes.
They sent him when he was 13 years old. They sent him to military school because they couldn't handle him.
Right.
The whole family could stand this man.
Yes.
So this man is a shame to United States.
Well, listen, you're not saying anything that I wouldn't say. He's an embarrassment. He's shameful. With that being said, anybody who is anti-Donald Trump, you could be a Republican, you could be an independent, you can be a Democrat, you can be an elected official, whoever you are, especially if you have a large platform, you have to be very careful with the words that you use. We can't stoop to their level. This was a horrible tragedy. It should have never happened. I want to know how it happened. I want to know why it happened. I want to know how the Secret Service failed everybody there, including Donald Trump. And regardless of the personal feelings that we have for the former president, we can't condone violence. We cannot incite violence, and we have to be careful with the words that we use. Doesn't change any of my opinions on who I think Donald Trump is, the human being. Doesn't change any of my opinions on my personal feelings when it comes to Donald Trump. But we can't condone violence as a nation. Joe Biden has said all the right things. 99.9% of Democrat elected officials have said all the right things. And I want to be very, very clear on that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's see. Who do we have next? Why don't we go to Christina? Christina is next up on PTL. Hi, Christina.
Hi, how are you today?
Hey, good, thanks. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm from Pennsylvania. I was about 45 minutes away from where it happened, and I live about 20 minutes away from where the
shooter,
sick individual lived.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. That's.
I just don't know how to phrase it. All I know is that this is scary as hell. And every Democrat needs to get their butts off their couch and vote and make sure he does not get in power again.
I agree.
No matter what happens.
Can I ask
They're going to make him out to be a hero. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's not a hero. I agree with you. Are you afraid of retribution? Because there are some Republicans who do radio shows, despicable people that are laughing at Democrats who are afraid of retribution. I think Joe Biden has a right to be a little afraid of retribution. Are you in fear that could happen?
Oh, absolutely. I even belong to a gun club that I quit because they became paramilitary, and they are for Trump like he couldn't even bring up a topic.
Right.
Around them.
You know what Republicans hate?
I quit it.
You know what Republicans, MAGA Republicans, extremists, you know what they hate? They hate the fact that the shooter wasn't black. They hate the fact that the shooter wasn't transgender. They hate the fact that, they can't call him a liberal, registered Republican. They can't call him Antifa. They hate the fact that it was a white male that decided to take an AR-15 with him. Where's the NRA with their statement? Well, he had the right to buy that weapon. He had the right. Where's the NRA on that? All these people out there that don't want to do anything about all the gun violence in this country. This was a same type of person that goes into a school and shoots a bunch of innocent children. It's usually the same demo. It's usually a young 18 to 22-year-old white male who brings in an AR-15, but none of the Republicans want to talk about that. Now's not the time, right? We don't want to talk about it. The Greg Abbotts of the world, the Republicans across the country, they just want to say, well, this was just a deranged individual. How did he get his hands on the AR-15? It's my understanding that this was his father's gun. Shouldn't the father be charged? How was his son able to get his hands on an AR-15? Republicans don't want to talk about that. Let's be very clear here. And people could make excuses until the cows come home. I give out facts, and it's why a video I put out over the weekend has 4 million views. This was a registered Republican, not a Democrat. He was not a member of Antifa. There's no evidence that anybody else was involved or anybody paid him or helped him. This was a registered Republican. His classmates said he was a Republican. If you go on his YouTube, he spread a bunch of right-wing propaganda. This was a Republican. This was not Antifa. This was not the left. This was one deranged individual. If there is a manifesto, hopefully we'll learn about it. I don't know if there is. This was not Antifa, just like after January 6th, when a bunch of the right-wing idiots out there were saying that this was Antifa, and some idiots, by the way, still believe this, that somehow on January 6th, these were really liberals and Democrats dressed up as MAGA supporters. There are dopes out there that still believe that, just like there are dopes out there that, like the J.D. Vances of the world, who actually went after Joe Biden and said Joe Biden was at least partially responsible for the shooter. It is hateful rhetoric. It is dangerous rhetoric. It is wrong, and we need to call it out.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
And you know what? Some people like to hear the truth, and some people don't. This was not a Democrat.
That's the hardest thing to understand is why you can't have a normal conversation with a Republican.
No, you can't.
And try to voice your views.
Most
and
it's difficult.
Afraid of retribution? Oh, I absolutely am. I can't talk politics with my family. I go to bingo. I can't do it there because everybody. I'm like, you know what? I'll just keep my views to myself, and
you don't have to
you
don't have to keep
exercise it at the ballot box.
That's the most important thing, dear, and I appreciate you calling. And wow, that's scary that you live 20 minutes from the actual shooter. All right, let's take some more phone calls and get a few more in here. By the way, Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us here in about 15 minutes or so. Let's go to Vivian. Vivian is next. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
I'm really upset because they took off my show Morning Joe this morning, so it started me off on the wrong foot.
Sorry to hear that.
But I'm like, let's get past this because of the fact that the NJ people are actually making this guy out to be a god. And I'm like, can you remember that Lucifer was an angel at one time? I said, so you people are crazy.
Yeah, we're living in crazy times right now, Vivian, and we need to be level-headed. We need to understand that we're living in very divided and dangerous times. We need to keep our eye on the trophy, so to speak, and we need to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get back into office. I am very concerned about November. One thing I will say is that Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, in my opinion, doesn't help him at all. I don't think this moves the needle at all. Can you imagine, like,
No.
if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Agreed to be Donald Trump's vice president? I'd be very, very worried because he would bring in a lot of moderates. Can you imagine if he asked Nikki Haley? I think that would help Donald Trump's campaign a lot. And Nikki Haley would take at the opportunity. I think there are people out there that really could have helped Donald Trump. I'll tell you right now, J.D. Vance doesn't help him at all. In fact, it hurts him.
No.
Play it in a loop
Right,
over and
I'm
over and
with
over
you.
again. Over and over and over again.
Play it on the loop, a loop.
Yeah.
Like you said, in those red states, let them hear how the guy really feels about him.
Yeah.
And now he changed his tune because he wanted to be vice president.
Yep, it's so obvious.
How
Can you how can he answer that? Hey, Mr. Vance.
Put him, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, just like play it on the loop over and over and over again.
Mr.
Like
Vance,
you said.
let's pretend you're J.D. Vance for a moment. Mr. Vance, you once said that Donald Trump is America's next Adolf Hitler. What did you mean by that, sir? What is he going to say?
I meant what I said, but
well, he'll never
I
say
meant
that.
what I said at that time, but now I feel differently because he made me vice president.
Let me tell you something. If Adolf Hitler was still alive, there are some sitting Republicans, if they knew they could be Adolf Hitler's vice president, they probably would still do it. That says all you need to know about some of these clowns on the far right. Most of them wouldn't do that, but there are idiots like J.D. Vance that would. Thank you for the call, Vivian. I appreciate you, my friend. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al is next up on PTL. We lost Al. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next up on PTL. What's up, Roy?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good. What's on your mind, Roy?
Okay, a couple of things. One, obviously, I do not condone what happened on Saturday. However, a lot of people have said the same thing. His rhetoric brought this kind of crap on himself. Don't forget, he had no problem with people threatening judges, threatening jurors, threatening witnesses during his trial in New York. He talks about retribution. He talks about revenge. That's his whole talk. He don't talk about policy for the most part.
Right.
But the thing that really, really is a shame is that no one's bringing up the fact that there are 20 million plus AR-15s that are out there in the public.
Sure.
And this is a perfect opportunity for him to use his influence to get that somehow resolved.
Yep, you're right about that. It won't happen. The Republicans won't.
No, I know
won't
it
do
won't happen.
It's very sad, the state of affairs this country is in right now. J.D. Vance, who, by the way, compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. I'm going to continue to say that. J.D. Vance blamed Joe Biden for this assassination attempt. You cannot.
I heard that.
It's so gross.
Let's look at this realistically. What would have happened if it was Joe Biden who took that shot in the ear? Do you think Trump would be calling for toning things down and calling up Joe Biden? He wouldn't. He doesn't give a damn about anybody else.
I agree. I think Donald Trump would not even pick up the phone. I even look at like the useless turtle, Mitch McConnell, when he had those health scares. Donald Trump didn't call him. You know who called him? Joe Biden. And Mitch McConnell talked about that. Joe Biden is the one that meets with these victims' families. When Donald Trump goes to New York City and attends a wake of a fallen officer, what does he do? Does he meet with the family and go home? No, he holds a campaign press conference.
Yeah.
Joe Biden doesn't do stuff like that.
Well, Joe Biden has two things that Donald Trump doesn't have: a brain and a heart. But I do want to mention one other thing which you haven't brought up. That case in Florida was dismissed by Judge Cannon today.
Yes, I do understand that, and I was going to talk a little bit.
Insanity right there.
It is. They say it's you're right, and when they say it's a two-tier justice system, they should be looking at their own instead of blaming Democrats. It is an absolute joke. But Jack Smith, he's a smart guy. He's going to refile, and we'll see what happens. Thank you for the call, Roy. Let's go to Michael. Michael is next up on PTL. Hi, Michael. What's going on?
Hey, Brian, I gotta kind of give you a little bit of criticism on something you've been saying here.
Okay.
Or you keep on bringing up the fact that J.D. Vance is this and that, and that he compared Trump to Hitler.
Well, he did,
and said,
yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's true, right? But I don't know if you use the exact language of him maybe being a sellout or something. But would you feel the exact same way about Kamala Harris calling Joe Biden a racist? And all these names saying he supported segregation.
She didn't call him a racist on a debate stage. She disagreed with his policies that were harmful, she believed, for minorities. She never stepped up, and Kamala Harris never said anything even close to what J.D. Vance said about Donald Trump. She never compared him to Hitler. She never looked him in the eye and said, you are a racist. That is just not true. Now, if you,
I'm pretty sure she did.
no,
I'm
she
pretty
never.
Sure she
No,
did.
well, you can say you're pretty sure. I'm 100% sure. She never said, Joe Biden, you're a racist. That's not what she said. She criticized him for having policies that she felt were racially discriminatory, but she never said, Joe Biden, you're a racist. And the point I'm trying to make is J.D. Vance compared Donald Trump to Hitler. J.D. Vance said that he's a never Trumper. Kamala Harris never said she's a never Biden. Kamala Harris never said she couldn't stomach Joe Biden. Kamala Harris never said that Joe Biden was a terrible candidate. Kamala Harris never called him a cynical a-hole. Kamala Harris never said that he was reprehensible or obnoxious. So I'm sorry, sir.
So are people allowed to change? Are people allowed to change their opinions on people or not?
Okay, so you believe with a straight face that it was J.D. Vance that just had a change of heart, and it had nothing to do with him being in political power because he's a Republican and maybe trying to become the next vice president of the United States. Are you going to tell me with a straight face that that J.D. Vance just had a sudden change of heart and it had nothing to do with personally being in power? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
What I'm trying to tell you is that I don't think he had a personal or a sudden change in heart, as you described, because he made that statement back in 2017 at the beginning of Trump's term.
So why do you think he had it? Why do you think
a lot of the never Trumpers were saying, "Oh, Trump's not going to do this. Trump's not going to do this." And then people who liked his policy, obviously he's a very abrasive guy. No one's going to argue with you on that, right?
So you're saying to call him the next America's Hitler. You think J.D. Vance changed his mind because he likes some of Donald Trump's policies? With all due respect, sir, that's ridiculous.
I think he changed it not based on solely policy.
No, because he wanted to be the vice president
of what a Trump presidency looks like.
Oh, no, because he wants to be the next vice president of the United States. And like so many in the Republican Party, they kiss the ring of Donald Trump because they want to remain in power. And that's all they care about. And they know if you're going to win an election. I know people personally that are Republicans here in Vegas that are running as Republicans. They hate Donald Trump, but they don't say it publicly because they know in order to win in an election, you have to be pro-Trump. He has taken over the entire Republican Party. And in my opinion, you're entitled to yours, but to insinuate that J.D. Vance just had a change of heart is absurd to me.
I just think you got to hold him and Kamala Harris to the same thing.
Oh, that's absurd.
If they hate,
name me something that Kamala, you were wrong in your first example. She never called him a racist. Name me something that Kamala Harris has ever said about Joe Biden in her entire career that rises to the level of comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler and calling him an a-hole. Can you give me one example?
I mean, I can't give you one because that's a very hyperbolic comparison.
No, it's not hyperbolic. You're comparing Kamala Harris. You're the one trying to make the comparison. And what I'm trying to tell you is
comparing apples to apples. I'm comparing a vice presidential candidate to a vice presidential candidate,
right,
and what they said about their
and there's no comparison. One guy is comparing him to Adolf Hitler. She's criticizing Joe Biden for policies that she thinks hurt minorities. Don't you understand the difference? J.D. Vance wasn't going after Donald Trump for policy. J.D. Vance was going after Donald Trump, calling him Hitler, saying he couldn't stomach him, calling him names like obnoxious. By the way, I agree with J.D. Vance with a lot of what he said. I don't like the comparison to Adolf Hitler. I can't stomach Donald Trump either. Now, if Kamala Harris said anything even close to that, then I would agree with you. But you haven't given me one example to prove that.
I mean, because all she does, they don't let her talk.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
They don't let her talk.
Okay, so now that's your excuse. Kamala Harris hasn't called Joe Biden Hitler or a racist because, quote, they won't let her talk. All right, I appreciate the call, my man, but you're not making any sense to me. That's a horrible false analogy, and you're just 100% wrong. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. You're comparing Kamala Harris because she criticized, and by the way, she never called Joe Biden a racist. You're wrong. She said that that some of the policies could have had racial undertones to it and that it was bad for minorities. She was attacking him on the way he voted. She never called him a racist. That's a lie. And J.D. Vance, probably for the only time in his entire political career, was being honest about Donald Trump. All right, here's what we're going to do. We got to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking to Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch. Tons of followers on social media. I love what he does. We're going to ask him and get his take on J.D. Vance, the pick of Donald Trump, which I think we both called it. That was going to happen. Going to talk about his thoughts on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Ron Filipowski joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYU101.com.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. What a crazy news day. I've been in the news business for over 20 years. I'm not sure you can find a news day as hectic as this one, maybe even since like a 9/11. January 6th was a very crazy day, but obviously we had the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, a terrible tragedy over the weekend. One person dead, 2 others injured. We got the vice presidential pick of J.D. Vance. We've got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Apparently, they're holding a press conference in a few minutes here, responding to Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. What a busy day, and certainly honored to have a man that I have a ton of respect for. I love what they do at Midas Touch, and Ron Filipowski joining us right now live. Ron, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on such a busy day. How are you, sir?
Yeah, you're not kidding, busy.
Crazy,
It's
right?
wild, yeah.
Ron, what's your first reaction? I mean, I've been saying for months that, Trump would pick JD Vance. What's your first reaction?
Well, I knew it was going to be Vance last week when Donald Trump Jr. has this group of influencers that he uses to sort of blast things out. And when they all started attacking Doug Burgum, which they did last Monday, that told me that it was because Jr. has always been a Vance guy, 100% Vance. So when they started attacking Burgum, that told me it was between Burgum and Vance, and they were trying to knock him out. And so all last week, all the usual suspects were all on the right were blasting Burgum. So, and then on Friday, Jr. posted a video about promoting Vance. So that pretty much cinched it for me that he was the guy. But look, it's a really surprising selection because since that time I've been accumulating all this stuff on Vance, mostly stuff of Vance attacking Trump.
Right.
Clips, screenshots, deleted tweets, and I just posted the article on the MidasTouch.com website of the 14 worst things that JD Vance has ever said about Trump. And
he compared him to Adolf Hitler, Ron. I mean, this is a guy who called him reprehensible, obnoxious, a cynical a-hole, can't stomach Trump, never a Trump guy, a terrible candidate. He compared him to Adolf Hitler. He said he's America's next Adolf Hitler. If I'm the Democrats, I'm playing that in loops over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, he put that in a text to one of his best friends. The other interesting part about that is to dig deeper, because I spent the last few days just really watching all these old Vance interviews talking about Trump. And, you really see the guy was such a truth teller about Trump. I mean, the guy in 2016 sounds exactly like me. And what happened? What happened was back then he was talking back in 16 about running for the Senate. And then it came up again in 19. He was toying with the idea of running in 2020. And then he decided not to. He decided against Sherrod Brown. He decided in 18, decided not to, ran in 2022. People forget he was fourth in the polls. About a month out from the election, Trump had not endorsed. He was fourth in the Republican primary, polling at about 13%. He was dead in the water. He had no chance. His only shot was to get Trump to endorse him. And he befriended Donald Trump Jr. They became tight. And I think Jr. bagged that endorsement for Vance, and Vance immediately shot up to the top of the polls and got elected. So that's why Vance is completely sold out. But the most interesting thing to me about those interviews is the constant theme is Vance really diagnosed Trump. He said he's figured out how to exploit rural white working class voters, how to push their buttons, and in a very dishonest way, and to take advantage of them. And now that's what JD Vance is doing.
You're right. I agree with everything you just said. And I don't think this moves the needle for Donald Trump. If it was like a Nikki Haley, I think that would bring those voters in. If it was a Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that would bring, some of those voters in. I don't think this helps Donald Trump at all. I mean, JD Vance is a far right MAGA two-faced clown, in my opinion. The other day, right, he was blaming Joe Biden, blaming Joe Biden for the assassination attempt. What do you make of that?
Yeah. Well, first, let me just say, we were talking about this at Midas all week. If he was going to make this selection on who gave him the best chance to win, he would have picked Nikki Haley or Glenn Youngkin. And that's who we were terrified of both, because Youngkin may have helped him carry Virginia, and then the election's over. We can't win without Virginia. So, but I said he's not going to make this pick based on what gives him the best chance to win. He's making this pick to satisfy the MAGA base, and this is who the MAGA base wanted. This is the guy. So what has he done? He has not expanded from his base. He hasn't branched out. And by the way, it's also the next article I'm about to write is how Trump picks all white men. If you look at the most senior positions of his cabinet, chief of staff, attorney general, secretary of defense, secretary of state, and VPs, it's all white men. And so, I mean, he appointed some like minorities and women to lower cabinet positions, but not to the big stuff. And it just shows once again that point. But you asked me about the assassination stuff. I mean, obviously it's totally ridiculous. The only thing we know about this guy right now, because we don't have anything from his phone yet, is that he's 20 years old. He's a registered Republican. He voted once in 2022 in the midterms. And he belonged to a shooting club for a little while. I mean, and he lives in Trump country, and he's from a fairly well-off family. This
Ron,
does not sound like Antifa to me.
No, it's not. And I put out a video. I think it's got like 4 million views now. Just facts about this 20-year-old who was obviously deranged. You're right. Registered Republican. You hear the conspiracy theories. He's Antifa. He's a liberal. He was disguised as a Republican to try to hurt Republicans in elections. You've heard all the conspiracy theories, and even a guy like a J.D. Vance blaming Joe Biden. Now, I understand, Ron, that there are some people on the left that say stupid things, right? They'll compare Trump to Hitler. I don't agree with those statements. But what do you make of the far right now saying the left needs to lower the rhetoric when the guy who luckily he's alive today is the one who, and I talked about this earlier in the first segment, after Paul Pelosi was attacked, he's the one who made jokes about the attack. Donald Trump did that. If you remember when Governor Whitmer was in this horrible kidnap scheme, he said it was a fake deal. Donald Trump is the guy that probably would have been saying this stuff if it had happened to Joe Biden.
And the January 6th police officers who, 100 of them plus went to the hospital. He never said a word about any of them, never visited them in the hospital. Yeah, joked numerous times about Paul Pelosi almost getting murdered by getting bashed with a hammer. So now we're supposed to have all this sympathy for Trump because he got clipped on the ear. I mean, look, this is a terrible thing, and it's a terrible thing that somebody got killed. And that's the other point. You know, you hear a lot with these MAGA people how this was a miracle from God. God had a hand in this. God directed the bullet. You know, I read all this stuff in MAGA social media. I'm like, wait a minute. Then God wanted the Trump supporter who was like the father of 2 firemen to die. That's what that was God's plan to save Trump and have this guy die. Give me a break, you know?
I made that exact point on the show today and over the weekend. They talk about God, and yet you had 2 innocent people that were shot and 1 innocent person that lost his life. And they want to say, yeah, but God protected Orange Man. I mean, these people are absolutely crazy. I do want to talk to you, Ron, a little bit. And if you're just joining us, Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch joining us about security and about the Secret Service. I mean, you saw the videos of people pointing, hey, there's a guy with a gun up there, interviews with people that told law enforcement they knew that he was up there. Now, we don't know how long they knew he was up there before the shooting, but they knew. We know a local law enforcement, a police officer went up there, engaged the suspect. Then the suspect points a gun at the officer and he goes back down. That's when he should have been taken out right then and there. I think this raises a lot of questions about some failures within the Secret Service. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, let me give you a different take on this that I've talked. You probably haven't heard before, that I've talked to the guys about as well, because I follow Trump behind the scenes so closely. So I do watch his Secret Service detail a lot, probably a lot more than anybody else. And I pay attention to what they're doing, because when I watch Trump behind the scenes videos, usually being filmed by his fans on their cell phones, I always watch the Secret Service and the people in the crowd to see the interactions. And I can tell you that I've complained over the last several months that his Secret Service detail acts more like campaign security than Secret Service. In other words, they're like moving people around they're moving people around for selfies, for different things that they shouldn't be involved in, you know, to sort of help out with the Trump, you know, helping him get hats signed and things like that, and footballs. And this is not their role. And so what I believe has happened, and I think that when they do the investigation, we are going to find out that Donald Trump or members of his campaign worked on Secret Service a lot to get them to cut corners and to get them to behave, to go against protocols, because they were using the Secret Service basically as a part of their campaign. And I really believe that that's what we're going to find out when this all fleshes out. But the most reprehensible stuff is that the Secret Service director is a woman. And, and two of the Secret Service agents on duty there, two or three out of, I don't know how many, 50, were women. And they immediately start saying this is because of women, that women should not be Secret Service agents. I saw this a lot, that it's okay for women to have corporate jobs or some jobs like that, but there's certain jobs that women really can't handle, and this is one of those jobs. This is the MAGA take. Yeah.
Reprehensible. I have to ask you this question from a political perspective. And obviously I don't, take away, my biggest takeaway, of course, is as you thinking about the families who lost a loved one and the victims, but we also have to think about this. This is our job from a political perspective. Does this help Donald Trump at all win in November? Does it hurt Donald Trump win in November? You've heard the stories of some on the right calling him a hero, a martyr. You've heard that stuff. We've gotten your perspective on the J.D. Vance pick. I think we both agree this probably doesn't help Donald Trump. Do you think what happened over the weekend gets him more votes?
Well, the hot take stuff is just terrible. Some of the worst stuff on social media is always like right after something like this happens. You just, on both sides, you just see so much craziness. And I had friends text me like, the election's over. No, I mean, I think it depends on a number of factors. Number one, how Trump handled it. And I think he's not handling it well. I think if he handled it the way he claimed he was going to handle it, I'm a changed man and reconciliation, and I'm going to help heal the country and all that stuff. Well, that lasted a few hours because he put out a tweet attacking Joe Biden this morning. So that's not the case. So that's one factor, how Joe Biden handled it. If Joe Biden handled it in a callous or flippant way, which he did not, would have been a factor. And I think who the shooter is and who the motives are. If this was a Democrat, some radical Trump hater, then I think that he could exploit it a lot more than he can under the current situation. But look, they're ultimately going to get into his phone. I know that they're having some difficulty, apparently, according to reports, tapping into the data in his phone. But that's probably going to tell the story about why this guy did it. I'm inclined to think this guy just wanted to be famous. He was just a nobody who had no friends and he wasn't really going anywhere in life or whatever. And he just wanted to be famous, and Trump rolls into town. He's a gun nut. He takes a shot at Trump.
I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree with you, Ron. I think we'll learn a little bit more, but obviously a deranged young man who did something horrible and paid the price for it, and rightfully so. Last question, Ron, before I let you go, I have to ask you this. If you were one of Joe Biden's top advisors, what is your opinion right now as we speak, 4 months before the election? Do you think Joe Biden should step aside? Good job, Mr. President. Or do you believe he should stay in this race? Now, I know your opinion might change in a couple months, right? Mine seems to change. But right now, what do you think Joe Biden should do to give the Democrats the best chance to defeat Donald Trump?
I think that it's really important for the Democrats to be unified. I think that we were incredibly unified in 2020. In fact, when I was a Republican, I was unified. It was this broad coalition of, everybody from Bernie bros to former Republicans that came together, 81 million of us, to beat Trump. And it's going to take that coalition again. The things that are distressing me the most right now are the big donors talking about freezing their pledged donations, something like $90 million worth. That would be catastrophic. So I think the campaign knows better than we do, sort of behind the scenes, who's really with them and who's not. And I think that they're going to make that call soon. So I don't know. I don't want to say like Joe Biden should drop out. I'm not one of those guys. I think that he should come to that decision on his own. And I really don't think it's our place to sort of push him one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't want to ask you that, but maybe I'll phrase the question a different way.
Okay.
Do you think Kamala Harris has a better chance to defeat Donald Trump than Joe Biden?
Yeah, I think, first of all, any polls like that do hypothetical matchups are always wrong. History has so when you pick any hypothetical person and you put them in a poll, they always underperform because they're not the candidate yet. They're not getting all the attention. So I would pay no attention to that. Clearly, that would be here's the problem. If you did not choose Harris, you would have a serious base problem. A serious base problem.
Yeah.
Especially if you dropped her for like a Gavin Newsom, that would be pretty bad. You're basically taking a woman from color, senator from California, and dropping her for a white guy from California. It's just not a good look. I think Kamala Harris is very underestimated. I think she would be a better candidate than a lot of people think. I think, her main weakness is sort of talking in word salads and being very verbose and maybe a little, laughs a little too much when she speaks. Those are all easily fixable problems when you become the main person. But she would have to, if she kept everything about the Biden team in place, all the campaign people, all the comms people, everything in place as is, the same staff, I think she would do very well. If she starts firing people and getting rid of people and trying to change everything, then I think she won't do well.
I tend to agree with you. I don't think she would do that. If in fact Joe Biden is going to step down, which I'm not sure he is speaking at the NAACP convention in Las Vegas tomorrow. They're both holding I've heard a campaign rally Wednesday. So if he is going to do something like that, it's got to happen sooner than later. But I agree with your sentiment and what you said, Ron, on such a very busy news day. I appreciate you taking the time. I love what you guys do at Midas Touch, and we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you so much for your time.
You got it, buddy.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. That's Ron Filipowski, everybody. What a great, probably my favorite. I have a lot of fun follows on social media. Ron's Twitter account is just the best. He's a great follow. He's honest. All right, so we have some new information about the shooter and about what took place. We're also going to take some phone calls when we come back. I will share that new information about the shooter with you. This is breaking news. We'll talk a little bit about that. And again, new breaking news that we're learning about the shooter. So I will share that with you when we come back. And we will also open up the phone lines once again. We just had Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch on. Take a break. Phone calls as well, 702-221-7283. Rarely do I ever say this, as so many other shows in Las Vegas do every other second because they can't get phone calls. Our phone lines are always clogged. But I will say this, it's rare. The phone lines are open, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to join the show and sound off, here's your chance. 702-221-7283. We'll share that breaking news about the shooter when we come back. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey accumulates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. We are independently owned. If you enjoy what we do here on the show, what I do, then I would ask that you do us all a favor and check out my new website, which is pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We do sell merchandise on there, and if you don't want to sell if you don't want to buy any of the merchandise, you can also just donate. Sign up for the newsletter, which is free, pushingthelimits.live, and we appreciate your support of the PTL radio show, which is growing by the day, by the way. It's kind of wild, man. I put out this video about maybe a couple hours after the shooting. Just facts about the shooter, pushing aside all those conspiracy theories. It's a 1-minute clip where I just pointed out that this is a registered Republican, and this is not somebody from Antifa or somebody from the left. And I think it's up to like 4 million views on Twitter. The video went viral, so kind of wild, but I think people like the truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth. I try to share that on this show every day, and now we're learning some new information, some troubling information about the building where the shooter climbed. We are learning, and this is, breaking news that's in, that the shooter, Thomas Crooks, climbed on top of and fired from a staging area where the police tactical team was. I mean, that makes the police look much worse, right? What we're learning is that the building where this gunman, and this is according, by the way, to investigators in the case, who have said Crooks scrambled onto the roof and opened fire, and this was the staging area for the local police tactical team doing overwatch of the crowd. 2 law enforcement officials have apparently told ABC. Investigators are trying to figure out how Crooks was able to get roof access. Apparently, he just climbed the roof. I mean, I think that's what most eyewitnesses saw. But how pathetic is that? I mean, all due respect to law enforcement, they clearly failed everyone. They failed the man's family who died, that man who lost his life. They failed a couple of the individuals who were shot. They certainly failed Donald Trump and everybody that was there that day. How is it possible that the staging area for local law enforcement was the building where the shooter picked to not only climb, but had the time to get in position to take actual shots at the former president of the United States? That is mesmerizing to me. Mesmerizing. So certainly we are following that story. We're looking at the Democratic response to Donald Trump picking J.D. Vance. I got to tell you, folks, I don't know how all of you feel about this. I don't think this helps Donald Trump at all. If I'm Donald Trump, which clearly I'm not, because I'm a rational, sane person, but if I was Donald Trump, I would have absolutely gone after Nikki Haley, put aside your differences and say this is for the good of the country, even though I don't believe that. Nikki, we want you on board. We want you to run as my vice president. I believe Donald Trump would win. He'd win in a landslide. He'd take those moderate Republicans and all those Nikki Haley supporters. But Donald Trump's ego would not allow him to do that. And I agree with what Ron Filipowski said, which is this was Donald Trump just picking the safe MAGA supporter, So I think it's a terrible pick. Not only that, forget about the fact that J.D. Vance is a far-right lunatic, but also the fact that he's compared Donald Trump to Hitler. We have the statements. He said it, either in tweets or in interviews. He said he was a never-Trumper. He said he couldn't stomach Donald Trump. He called Donald Trump a terrible candidate. Quote, he said he was America's next Adolf Hitler. He called him a cynical a-hole. He called Donald Trump reprehensible and obnoxious. Play that loop if you're the DNC over and over and over again. Show the tweets, play the audio over and over and over again, because J.D. Vance is a two-faced coward, just like so many that are on the far right today. Imbeciles that have no backbone, like the Kevin McCarthys of the world and many others. And yes, I'm going to put Nikki Haley in that category. And the reason why I'm putting Nikki Haley in that category is because she said that Donald Trump was unfit for office, and yet she's still supporting him for president of the United States. So many of these MAGA Republicans are all the same. They are completely two-faced. They're all clowns. And I think this actually, you could make the case, and I would, that this actually hurts Donald Trump. You're not bringing in any moderate Republicans. You're not bringing in any independents. You're certainly not bringing in any Democrats. But if you pick somebody like Nikki Haley, some of those moderate Republicans would certainly jump on board. I know some of them personally. I would never vote for Donald Trump under any circumstance. But there are a lot of moderate Republicans out there that are very angry at Donald Trump. Nikki Haley's supporters, she had 20%. That's a large chunk. So J.D. Vance hurts the party. I don't think there's any question about that. I think he hurts Donald Trump. I shouldn't say hurts the party, hurts Donald Trump. But I told you this was going to happen for months. If you listen to this show every day, I told you, I said, Trump's going to pick J.D. Vance because he doesn't overshadow Donald Trump. He's a MAGA loyalist, at least these days, and it's the safe play, and it won't anger the base. This decision could lose Donald Trump the election. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it could. And you can go back and say, boy, that was a really bad decision. Some people will say, vice presidential picks don't really have any outcome on the election results. I disagree. I think John McCain defeats Barack Obama if he doesn't pick that idiot, Sarah Palin. So I disagree. I think the vice presidential pick, especially in this race that is, in my opinion, so close, is extremely important. And I think Donald Trump made a very bad decision. All right, we'll open up the phone lines again, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, thank you for taking my call. Great points. I was listening to the other segment, and I'm going to vote for Trump. I'm not big on Trump. I don't feel any more motivated to support Trump, even and it's terrible that he got shot. And I'm going to get to that in a second. So personally, I think it was a bad move. I think he could have I would have liked the guy from Virginia, or just even Nikki.
So can I ask you a question? So yes, I think that that would have helped him more. I agree with you. But why? As a Republican, why do you think Donald Trump chose to choose J.D. Vance, who, by the way, compared him at one time to Adolf Hitler?
I really don't know. I mean, I haven't really, I was following more of the state stuff because I was more involved in the state stuff. I really don't know. I don't know anything about this guy, but if this guy called him a Hitler, I don't know.
He said, quote, Donald Trump is America's next Adolf Hitler. That's at one point what J.D. Vance said.
Well, let me tell you this. What I'm about to say is just going to show you some of the illogic about Trump. Now, Trump, I'm supporting Trump. But, you went to that event here in Las Vegas over at that open park.
Yep.
I had VIP seats. And I go, first of all, it's hot. Second of all, I got things to do. But even then, I wouldn't even go to that thing because I was afraid there was going to be a shooting, and other Republicans said the same thing.
Well, I don't think Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump really cares about you. I don't think he cares about people. Why would
No. But what I'm saying is that what I'm trying to talk about is that why is he putting himself in such harm's way?
Sure. The short answer, because he's an idiot. because he's he's an idiot. I mean, what do you want me to say? He's holding rallies when it's 120 degrees outside in Las Vegas with no shade and no water, and then he wonders why people are passing out and having to go to the hospital. He doesn't care about anybody else but himself. He doesn't care about you. He certainly doesn't care about me. He only cares about himself. And if he
that's a possibility. I mean, there's a good argument for that. I'll say that. But at least why doesn't he at least have a one of these bulletproof see-through things, speaking? Like the Pope used to have. This guy is just in a lot of ways. He kind of has. I don't want to say he put it on himself, but he should be taking more precautions. I'll put it to you that way.
He is the most polarizing politician that we have ever seen, certainly in my lifetime. I am not going to sit here and not put the blame starts obviously with the shooter, obviously, but questions need to be raised about the Secret Service and security, and I'm not going to allow people on the far right to make, I'm not saying you do this, but completely ridiculous claims that somehow, and J.D. Vance did that, by the way. This is a guy who could be the next vice president, and he's blaming Joe Biden for what took place over the weekend. It's the dumbest, craziest crap I've ever heard in my life, and far righties out there that are blaming Democratic lefty rhetoric. Are you kidding me? Like somehow me going on the air and calling Donald Trump an orange turd is why, this happened? Have you heard the stuff that Donald Trump says on a regular basis? It's absurd.
I have heard that. That's one of the reasons why I was really big on him on 2016. I'll tell you that, but I just couldn't keep up with the stuff that he's saying, and I've been an advocate for him to change his rhetoric.
He won't. He won't do it. He's already, as Ron Filipowski just said, he said he wants to bring the country together, and then today on Truth Social, he's attacking Joe Biden. The man is an impulsive schmuck, and he will not change. Al, it's good to hear from you, and I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kava, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Kava?
Hi, Brian. How are you doing today?
Hey, doing good. What's on your mind, my friend?
So I would like to reiterate something that your guest had said on your show today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just like to reiterate again that, like he said, Trump doesn't care about anything. And like you just said, he doesn't care about anybody who follows him. Like you said, because Las Vegas gets up to 110. He holds these ridiculous little rallies, not caring about if somebody dies because of the heat. Does he care? No. Why? Because he's a little bigot. He doesn't care about other people. He only cares about himself. Mm-hmm. He thinks that he's God when he's not. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of ridiculous things that I can talk about with the political climate that we're living in today. But I think Democrats should feel a sense of relief today, or at least those that are anti-Trump. I really think this vice presidential pick is a big mistake and a big blunder. It doesn't move the needle at all. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have time for a quick question?
Go ahead.
So I was wondering if, with what happened to Donald Trump, do you think that he'll finally be willing to shut his mouth?
No, 100% no. I talked to Ron Filipowski about that. No, absolutely not. First of all, he was attacking Joe Biden on Truth Social today. Maybe his speech at the RNC might be toned down a little bit, but this guy isn't changed at all. He's not going to change at 78 years old, and I talked about that earlier. This man is not changing. He's going to be the same despicable human being he's always been, and I thought Melania Trump's statement was such a joke. I was laughing at every word she said about bringing people together. Give me a frickin' break. Now the right-wingers out there are talking about bringing people together when you have this clown that is the leader of your party that has been dividing this country every single day since he decided to run for office against Hillary Clinton. And now all of a sudden people on the right are, we need to lower the temperature. We need to bring people together. When Donald Trump attacks women on looks, he's attacked POWs for being captured. He's attacked everyone and anyone, minorities, Mexicans. These people are rapists. They're bad people. And I suppose some of them are good people. Stand back and stand by. And now all of a sudden we should listen to these far right-wing turds tell us to lower the temperature. Screw you. Screw you. Kava, I appreciate the call, my friend.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Kava. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Tim. Tim is next up on PTL. Hi, Tim. What's going on?
Hey, Brian, first-time caller. How are you?
Oh, thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. Where are you calling from?
From God Country up in North Conway, New Hampshire.
All right. Well, thanks for calling from New Hampshire. What's on your mind?
Well, Brian, I just don't get this. I don't understand how I've been confused 10 years what this guy does and how he has control over this many people.
Yeah.
It drives me insane.
Yeah, it's brainwashed cult. I'm going to give you an example, Tim, of what I'm talking about. The man who lost his life, what a tragedy, right? He's a firefighter. I respect his service. It's horrible that his family had to be there to witness that. My heart goes out to his family. And he's a firefighter, right? So he's dedicated his life to saving lives and helping people, which I also respect very much. But I went on his social media page yesterday, and he reminded me of Ashley Babbitt, and Ashley Babbitt was breaking the law. I want to be very clear. This guy wasn't doing anything wrong. But I go on his social media, and he's praising Vladimir Putin. I put out a tweet about this. He's celebrating genocide of kids dying in Gaza. He's made racist comments on his social media page about our press secretary. And I say to myself, how could a man who seems to have been a really good dad, right, seems to have been in the last moments of his life a hero, right, protecting his family, how could he believe this sort of stuff? And the only thing that I can come up with is these people are brainwashed. Donald Trump has been able to brainwash a lot of people, and it's very sad, quite frankly. It's very sad.
Millions and millions of people. I can't get it. I can't grasp it. It drives me insane. I just come to the point. The first election, I had to back off. I found myself just angry all the time.
Yeah, I did
and
too.
I'm feeling like that again.
I did that too. Okay, so let me tell you something. Not a lot of people know this about me. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump in 2016 because I wasn't a fan of both of them, and I had no idea the threat that Donald Trump would be. And I made a mistake. But I got to tell you something. As much as people might not want to go to the ballot box in November, we have to. I'm not all in with Joe Biden, but if Joe Biden is the guy, I'll vote for anybody over Donald Trump. And it's important for us to do so.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm obviously staunch supporter of Biden.
Yeah.
So it's time to step aside.
Well, he's a decent man. He's a decent man.
Yeah,
my
he's a very
friend.
decent man.
I appreciate.
A very decent man.
You're right. We're on the same page, my friend, and I really do. I really do appreciate you calling him out, then New Hampshire. You be safe, okay? Thank you.
You do the same. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to hear from you. So right now, J.D. Vance is on stage at the RNC, and maybe he brought a pro-Hitler Nazi poster with him. I don't know. Again, this was the same guy who compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Notice, and by the way, I think that's wrong for either side to do that. I've been very clear on that. The guy said Donald Trump was America's next Adolf Hitler, and Donald Trump has picked that guy to be his vice president. Folks, you cannot make this stuff up. This is laughable. Democrats, I am begging you, in a loop, play this over and over and over again. J.D. Vance is the guy who compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler, said he couldn't stomach him, and he was a terrible candidate, among other things. Play it in a loop over and over and over again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where the Republican Party is at today, because if you think someone is Adolf Hitler, as long as you have an opportunity to be his vice president, you'll kiss the ring. How do you respect any of these people? I have zero respect for J.D. Vance. I think Donald Trump has made a mistake. I'm happy he picked J.D. Vance because I think it could cost him the election in November. Former Congresswoman Shelley Berkley is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. She's probably going to be Las Vegas's next mayor. But as a former Congresswoman, I'm going to talk to her a little bit about security and her thoughts of what took place over the weekend as well. Please check out my website. It's getting more and more views every single day. It's pushingthelimits.live. We are independently owned. It means we rely on people like you. You can sign up for the newsletter for free. Just go on the website, sign up for my newsletter for free. We sell merchandise on there. Check out the merchandise. If you don't want to buy merchandise, you could always donate to what we do here at Pushing the Limits. Seeking truth every single day. Anybody who knows me and anybody who listens to the show regularly, and there's plenty of you out there. I think at one point we had 10,000 people watching the show live today, which is awesome. I interview more people I disagree with than I agree with. It just so happens that Ron Filipowski, I think he's a brilliant man, and I agree with him on a lot of stuff, and it was really a pleasure having him on today, no doubt about that. We are going to probably get some surrogates on the show this week from both campaigns, the Donald Trump campaign and the Joe Biden campaign. Joe Biden's going to be in Las Vegas tomorrow. We'll do what we can to cover that, and they're also holding a campaign rally on Wednesday here. So I'll be covering both of those events. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You see my email on the bottom of the screen if people want to reach out to me. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie?